Welcome to this week's focus and your mindset minute. It's always longer than a minute, right? I have trouble doing these in short periods of time. Why? Because I love doing this. I love, you know that I'm passionate about it, and I love giving stuff to you guys. So this focus, today's focus is going to be on decisions. Now, decisions, if you get this right, you've mastered the game. When you figure out how to make decisions properly, what's going to happen is you're going to get results in your life the way you want them. So pay attention. This is one of the most important weeks that I can offer you. I'm going to be touching on this subject a lot. This is one of my favorite subjects because it has the biggest impact on people's lives. Now, if you've been following me, the stuff on the brain, that's my understanding of how things work. Decisions is going to touch on some of those topics. So let's just jump into it right away, okay? 1. This is my definition of a promise, or definition of decision. I've just given away some of it. Definition of decision is a promise that you make to yourself that you keep. A promise that you make to yourself that you keep. Now, most people are not in the habit of making promises to themselves that they keep. Most people have watered down the term decision. And decision means just like something that can go either way. You can decide to do something and not to decide to do it later on. That's actually not a decision. If you go back to Latin, where decision comes from, it comes from two different words. There's de and cedere. Okay? And in the Latin, de means off and cedere means to cut. So basically, decision means to cut off. It means to cut off any retreat, to cut off any other possibilities. You're deciding to move forward with something. And what this has meant throughout history, it's meant different things at different times, and it really comes through the French. But where this really comes from, I love language, can you tell? Where this really comes from is the focus of when you're in a fix, when you're in a tough spot, you decide to move forward with one thing and you cut off everything else. Okay? It means that you do not have... Think about Yoda for a second. Remember that famous scene with Yoda, and he's talking to Luke Skywalker, and Luke goes, I'll try. And he goes, no. There is no try. Do or do not. There is no try. That's kind of the famous line. Well, this is really important and goes in line with that. It's not about trying when it comes to decisions. You make a decision and you do it. And you do whatever it takes to make it happen. That's what a decision is. And when you start seeing a decision in that light, all of a sudden you start accomplishing things, amazing things in your life. Because instead of basing things on circumstances, you base them on what you want. Which brings me to my next point of focusing on goals. So decisions become a lot easier when they're focused on your goals, all right? If you don't have strong goals, you're not going to have strong decisions. And this is why. It's going to be very difficult to make a decision. So you've got to ask yourself right now. And if you want to pause the video, by all means, feel free to do so. Yeah, I'll be here when you come back. But what I want you to think about is, am I good at making decisions? Or do I waver? The people who are kind of fence sitters, they go back and forth at different times, that's called ambivalence. And what it comes from is a lack of confidence. So if you don't make decisions, if you struggle to make decisions, what that's really saying is that you struggle with self-confidence. You don't have the confidence in yourself to either make a correct decision or to, when you make a decision, follow through on it. Be honest with yourself. If you struggle with decisions, it's one of those two things, or both of those things, consistently. All right? So, one thing is I want you to get into I'm going to wait for that action step, but I'm going to give it away a little bit here. I want you to get into the habit of making even small decisions, even small commitments that you keep to yourself. And if you practice this, you will get good at it, okay? So if you struggle with ambivalence, if you struggle with self-confidence, the cure to that, the cure to self-confidence is actually making decisions and sticking with them. That's what will help you with your self-confidence. So even making a small decision, where you make a commitment to somebody and you keep it. Now be careful about the commitments you make. You don't have to promise the world to everybody. But when you make a commitment, stick to it. Now, I talked about goals a couple minutes ago. I want to touch back on that. When you have strong goals, and this comes back to self-confidence in so many ways. When you have strong goals, clear goals, you know exactly what you want, then decisions can become extremely easy. And this is why. When you have a strong goal, you can really quickly ask yourself, this decision, this property that's coming my way, does it take me closer to my goals or further away? How quickly does it take how quickly does it help facilitate me getting to my goals? And if it's not quick, and if it's not taking towards your goals, you can say no to it easily. That's easy. And if it really quickly matches up your criteria of the properties you want, because it matches your goals, and if it really quickly takes you towards your goals, you say yes. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter whether you have the money or not for it. It doesn't matter whether the economy is perfect for you or not. If it matches up with your goals, you can move on it with confidence. Why? Because it will get you there. Here's the thing. If you base decisions on circumstances, there will always be a time not to do something. There will never be a time to do something. Okay, there will always be an excuse. A circumstance is simply an excuse. So if catch yourself doing this. If you say, I would like to, but whatever comes after the but, that's your excuse. That's your circumstance. And so you need to get into the habit of saying, I'm going to do this. Period. I'm going to do this. And when you make a commitment to like that, it's a promise that you make to yourself, a commitment that you make to yourself that you keep. And you do it, and nothing gets in your way. You cut off everything else. Now listen, a lot of people talk to me and they're like, well, but Mark, what about my family? What about... Listen, if your goals don't include your family, you've got messed up goals, okay? If they don't include either like I'm talking about your husband, your wife, your partner, your kids, the people around you that you actually want to be around, okay? If you don't want to be around them, that's fine, okay? But if your goals include your kids, then your decisions will include your kids. It's not going to cut off your kids, okay? You don't have to... We get into this mindset where if we say yes to money, we're saying no to family. That's absolutely crazy. When you say yes to money, you're saying yes to family, if that's what's important to you. For me, every time I make more money, I spend more time with my kids. More time, more energy with my kids. So you've got to change your mindset. And again, we'll get into paradigms a different time, okay? That's a different topic. For now, what I want to focus on is circumstances. Make a goal. This is my grandpa. I love my grandpa. I loved my grandpa. He died a long time ago, okay? About a decade ago. But he was such a close person to me. And he had this wise saying that he said all the time. He said, Mark, you make a decision where you are with what you have, not based on your circumstances, based on your goals. He said this to me all the time. Make it right now based on where you're at, okay? Based on what you want, not based on your circumstances. He said this in different ways all the time. And basically what he was saying is, don't worry about the circumstances. Don't worry about what you don't have. Focus on where you're going. Because this is what's going to happen. Once you get good at making decisions, if you find that right property, if you decide to go forward with a new business venture or whatever it is, what you're going to discover is that you're going to get rid of obstacles. Because when you get good at making a decision, you have an obstacle. You don't have any money? Ask other people for it. Farm it out to other investors. You'll find a way. So it's not about I can't, it's about finding ways to do something, all right? And if you get good at this, you are going to have success. I guarantee it, all right? This is a skill. This is not a genetic thing, okay? If your family's bad at making decisions, it's not genetic. It's that they struggle with self-confidence. And you can cure that because it's a skill. You can grow in it. Ask yourself, what are the most important things to me? And then line up what's important with where you're moving forward. That's what your goals are. That's what you're going to be moving forward with. Okay, so talked about goals based. Okay, so here's some action steps for you. Okay, I've just got my notes to the side here. Here's some action steps for you. Number 1, practice making smaller decisions. And this is what I want you to do when you practice making smaller decisions. So again, a decision is a promise that you make to yourself that you keep. A decision is something where you cut off everything else that gets in the way. So I want you to decide, small decisions, what is one thing that you will accomplish that day or the next day, no matter what. So it doesn't matter if someone's dying. It doesn't matter if something weird happens, you still decide that you're going to do something, okay? I'm telling you little things, okay? This is not going to destroy your life even if somebody dies in your life, okay? Like, for example, writing out your goal. You can still do that, okay? And really, that actually would be a big thing, okay? But small things, choose small things. I'm going to write out my goal today. I'm going to take one action. I'm going to do this one action step. I'm going to find an accountability partner that will help me in decisions, keeping my decisions, okay? And when you get into the habit of making smaller ones, what I want you to do is document it. Now, there are different ways to do this, okay? On my phone here, I actually have an app here. So I'm going to go to it just so I can help you out with this. But I've got an app called Productive. Now, I'm on iPhone. I've got an Apple Watch that helps me with this. But depending on where you're at, find an app that does this. And they're just basically habit apps where you write down on the app what is it that you're going to do on a daily basis or a weekly basis or every morning or whatever, okay? Or twice a day or whatever it means, okay? You're going to write down a small habit, and every time you do it, mark it down. Every time you do it, mark it down. And just try to set a streak. Maybe your first streak is just one day. You just want to try one day. That's fine. And you break your promise to yourself. Well, get better at it. So the next time, try to do it for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days in a row. Every time you do it, every time you mark it off your calendar, you feel great about yourself, and that's what builds confidence. And as you do this consistently, this is kind of like the Seinfeld, and Jerry Seinfeld has a method for doing this, where every time he does something, he marks it on his calendar. Well, you start to get excited, and as you've done it for 5, 6, 7, 8 days, 30 days, 60 days, now all of a sudden, you've got all this energy and momentum built in this, and even if something really big happens, you will sacrifice something in order to keep the streak alive. Practice with yourself. Small things. Small things. Don't do this with life-changing things. Don't be like, I'm going to buy a property every day. Or just cool it, okay? Relax. Make small decisions. Keep them. And get good at keeping them, okay? Once you've kept one decision consistently for 45, 60 days in a row, then try 2 in a row. Or 2 a day. Maybe try 3 a day, 4 a day. You can build these up slowly. Listen, if you mess up, momentum goes the other way. If you mess up, maybe you'll have a few days where you're not feeling good about yourself, you struggle with self-confidence, and you don't follow through with them. That's fine. Take a deep breath, do whatever you need to do to relax one day, and say, tomorrow I'm going to start again. And then start again. Or if it's today, maybe if it's not like 11:30 at night, if it's in the morning, go, today I'm just going to do one thing again. You don't have to do all 4 of them again. Just start with one. I do this all the time. If I'm messing up on my commitments, then I slow them right down and go back to the basics. And I just start again. Start simple. Start small. Honestly, practice makes perfect with this. This is a skill. This is like a muscle. Decision making is like a muscle. And when you get better at making promises to yourself that you keep, no matter what, when you cut off everything else, you are going to get better at this and you're going to build your self-confidence. Now, when you are good at making the small decisions, so I'm talking about in the next few months, start to get better at small decisions, then you can start making the bigger decisions. And maybe for a period of time you tell people, listen, I'm working on making decisions and keeping them. I'm working on making promises to myself that I keep. So I'm going to be careful about my commitments that I make to other people. So somebody says, hey, could you do this? And I go, listen, I'm going to be careful about my commitments. Say that to people. And if they're close to you, they're going to understand, okay? If they're not understanding, then maybe you should be spending less time with them, all right? Think about back to junior high. If they're criticizing you for growing, then maybe they're not your best friend, okay? Be careful with this stuff. Let's learn from our junior high selves. So again, practice making smaller decisions. Once you're good at making one, once you're consistent, add in a second one. If you break this down and it falls apart, start over again. That's okay, because you'll get better at it, and you'll be able to run into decisions quickly again. So for me, for example, I'm pretty good at this now. And if I mess up, yeah, sometimes it throws me off. But usually it doesn't disrupt all of my decisions. It just disrupts one. So you'll get better at this and things will come along. And then practice. Here's one extra tip, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier before. Find an accountability partner. Somebody who's safe, somebody who's not going to police you, somebody who's not going to force you to do something bad or you're going to feel terrible about if you mess up. If you don't follow through on your decision, let them know right away. Let them know. And you could even say, I do this all the time with my accountability partner. I say, I didn't do it today, or I didn't do it this morning. I'm going to do it this afternoon, or I didn't do it today. I'm going to get right back on track tomorrow. What that is you're making a commitment to another person, and it helps just remind you. We're better at making commitments to others and keeping them than making commitments to ourselves. But once you become really good at making those decisions and commitments to yourself, you will also be better at helping others. This will revolutionize the way that you react and what you get done. You'll become more consistent. You'll become more efficient. Why? Because you say, I'm going to do these 3 things today, and you get them done. And guess what? You start making more money. You start building your real estate portfolio. This has profound effects on your income. Practice with the little things, get better, get bigger, and take this to heart, okay? Start making promises to yourself that you keep. Start cutting off everything else and do what you need to be successful. Enjoy your week.